see that right. They banned me. They scammed me, then they banned me. Make it make sense. If you're a returning viewer to the channel, you guys have watched my previous videos, then you probably have somewhat of an idea of the issues we've had in the past with public storage. And if you're new to the channel, this video is just going to be me going through kind of explaining why it is that they banned me and just kind of the entire situation, because I'm hoping that I can, it was something that once I go through and explain it and you see, it really doesn't make any sense that they banned me at all, because every time that we've had an issue from public storage, it's always been on their end. I've never had an issue with any of the other companies at all, ever. They've all been super helpful. You know, it's been very easy to work with them. And I think that they would say the same about me. But public storage has just been, it seems like one fight after another. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth just to try to get access to the units that we win with them. I was to the point where I think I even said it in the past video where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to bid on their units anymore at all, just because of how many issues that we have every time that I try to get a unit from there. But I'm going to start at the beginning. Now, the reason I got banned actually wasn't because of the issues that we had during that past video. It was actually for a prior issue that we had with them back when I actually had first started buying storage auctions and doing this. So I don't really have any video clips of that, because at that point we didn't have a YouTube channel, we weren't making videos, nothing, none of the above. So this first portion is going to kind of be more like a story time, and then I'm going to jump through some of the video and clips showing some of the other issues we had, and then just kind of walking through and explaining. We had a pretty big situation with public storage during that last video that I didn't really want to speak on too much. I wasn't trying to get anybody fired. We were able to eventually get our stuff. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I think now, just with this entire thing, I'll probably end up speaking on it. So let's go ahead and jump into the initial issue that we had with them, which is actually the reason why I got banned. So one of the very first units that I got was a public storage unit. It was when we had just moved into our house. We hadn't bought any, we were moving from an apartment into our first really, I don't know how to say that without sounding like into our first big house. And we didn't have the furniture to fill it. And I had just started buying units, and I saw an auction that had some really nice couches, some chairs, mostly it was just straight furniture. That's all it really was. And so I had bid on the unit. I ended up winning it for pretty cheap. It wasn't even that expensive. I think it was like I want to say $110 is what I won the unit for. So relatively cheap compared to what furniture and stuff like that costs. So I couldn't really tell what all was in the unit because everything was stacked right at the front. It was a decent sized unit. I think it was like a 10 by 15 or a 10 by 20, but the couch and stuff was stacked right at the front of the unit. So you couldn't see what was behind it. So I couldn't tell what all was in the unit. I could just see obviously what was at the front from when they take the pictures at the front of the unit. So what we would do at the time back then, you know, we didn't have access to the things that we do now, obviously, but we had pulled up in my car just to try to get an idea of what all was in the unit, to be able to get an idea of how big of a truck we would need to rent to get everything out. So when we pulled up to the facility, there was a guy, and we had let him know we won the unit. We walked in, you know, same process as always. We let him know our name. I gave him my ID, let him know which unit I had won. And I went to give him the money to pay for it. And he must have seen us pull up in my car, because he asked me what vehicle did I have to get the stuff. I told him that we were just there basically to assess the unit. And then obviously we would be coming back with whatever size truck it is we need. I kind of told him I can't really tell what all is in the unit, but we have 48. I think that unit we had 72 hours to get everything out of the unit. If I wanted to take all 72 hours, it shouldn't have mattered. But what he said was he wasn't going to rent me the unit because I didn't have a truck there big enough to take everything right then. And I told him that that's not how it works. The invoice that they send me says I have 72 hours to get everything out. I can't even tell what all's in the unit. So I don't want to go rent some ginormous truck if there's nothing behind the couch and stuff. If that's all it is, I can get that with just like a pickup truck or something. So I told him that didn't work for me, that's not how things go, that's not what's on the invoice, that's not what's stated. Like, if he's going to change the terms, then I was just going to leave, and I would contact them and let them know that they could give it to someone else. Like I said, I was new. I didn't really understand how the entire thing worked. If you don't pay for your unit that you win and it goes to a backup bidder, your account gets suspended. I didn't know that at the time. I knew about the whole backup bidder thing, but I thought that was just basically like if you didn't get the unit or whatever the situation might be, then they pass it along to the next person. I didn't know that came with like a guaranteed account suspension at the time. Like I said, one of the first units I did, but that's what I told him. I said, if you're going to change things up on me, I'm like, that's the entire point of cleaning deposits. He said, well, we don't do cleaning deposits. I take your ID while you clean the unit out, and I don't give it to you back until you have the unit completely cleaned out. And I told him, again, that's not going to work for me, because I need to get the unit. I need to purchase the unit right now so I have access to it, so I can assess it to see what size truck it is that I'm going to need to get the stuff out of the unit. And if you take my ID now, and I need my ID to drive, I need my driver's license to drive, and then I'll need my driver's license to go rent a truck. So I'm telling him, like, that's not going to work. And if I did it the other way around, I went and just rented a truck, I would just probably end up, either it would have been too big or too small. And I didn't want that to happen. I was just trying to explain to him, look, bud, he said, no, I don't do that because people just come and cherry pick everything. And I said, that's the entire point of a cleaning deposit. I give you this money, you hold on to it until I get everything out, then you give it back to me. He said, well, we don't do cleaning deposits. I just hold IDs. I said, well, can I give you a cleaning deposit? I said, I'll give you $100, $200, whatever it is that you want to hold. I said, but I need to, like I said, assess the unit so I can see what size truck it is that I'm going to need. He said, no, I just hold your ID. I told him that's not going to work. I need my ID to go rent the truck. And if I just go rent a truck, I don't want to go rent something that's too small or too big. I said, because either then, I'm going to have to pay extra for no reason, or I go rent something and it's not going to be big enough and I have to make multiple trips, and then we're going to have the same issue because you have my ID, and that means once I go to clean it out, I have to get it all in one trip because you will have my ID, and I won't be able to drive somewhere to go drop the stuff off without my driver's license. I said, so that's not going to work, bro. Basically, he just kept going back and forth, said, you don't have a truck big enough. Oh, well, I'm not. He literally said, I'm not selling it to you. And I told him, that's not how it works. That's not how it works, bro. On the invoice, I'm showing him. I pulled up the invoice and was like, look, it says I have 72 hours to get everything out. I'm like, you are just completely changing the terms on me right now. And he basically said, oh, well. And so I was like, all right, whatever. And so, like I said, at the time, I didn't know. I was brand new. So I was like, somebody else can have it. So they had called me and was like, hey. And I kind of explained to them what had happened. And they were like, oh, okay. And they didn't tell me that my account would be suspended. Because I said, you guys can just give it to whoever was next, the next backup bidder. And I explained to them the situation, I went there, tried to buy the unit. He refused to sell it to me unless I had a truck big enough to get everything right then, and I wasn't going to be able to make multiple trips. So I kind of explained the situation to him, told him, like, with the way he was being, like, it was whatever. I told him, just give it to the next backup bidder. They didn't say, your account's going to get suspended because of it. They were just like, okay. And then next thing you know, my account's suspended. So I was able to get a hold of Storage Treasures customer support. And I don't want to talk too bad about Storage Treasures. They are one of the biggest reasons I'm able to do what it is that I do. They're the biggest auction hosting site out there. So basically, they are a major key to what I'm doing. So I don't want to talk too bad about them, but I will say that their customer support, in my experience so far at least, has not been the best. I'll just say that, and I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I don't want to talk too bad about them. But I was able to get a hold of them, and he was able to get my account reinstated. But he was like, but just to let you know, I thought at the time that he said that public storage didn't want me bidding with them anymore. So I thought he was just talking about that location with that guy. And with that experience, I was like, that is fine. Like, I never want to go back there again. Like, that guy, I don't want to deal with him. I'm like, that's fine. We're good. Left it at that. Didn't have, obviously we had a couple other small issues with public storage here and there. it was almost always the same thing. They would put the wrong address on the invoices. The phone numbers that they would put on the invoices were disconnected, stuff like that. Or just some fishy things that we would notice. You'll kind of see that as I go through the rest of this video. But that situation right there is the situation that when these past issue happened, the same guy from Storage Treasures called me and was like, hey, your account's all good. We got everything fixed. It's resolved. But I remember talking to you, back then, you're supposed to be banned from bidding with Public Storage. I said from all their facilities. I thought it was just from that one because of the issue I had with that guy. No, Public Storage wants you banned from bidding on all of their facilities because of that. I said, that's ridiculous. I said, but I didn't really have a choice. I didn't really have anything I could say. So I was like, all right, whatever. And so it was actually that initial issue that I had there that is the reason why I'm banned from bidding with any public storages in the country, which I think is ridiculous. Because if you were in my shoes, like, what do? Do you go rent a giant truck just in the off chance that the thing is completely packed stuff behind the couch that's right there at the front? Or do you risk driving without your driver's license? Or, what do you do in that situation? That's what I tried to explain to them, but they weren't really hearing me. I've tried reaching out to Public Storage, somebody higher up that like manages their auction thing, to see if there's anything I can do to get access back to it, but I haven't had any luck so far. I'll keep you guys updated on that, but I'm hoping that through the power of social media that we're able to get this to the right people, because I truly don't feel like in this situation like I did anything wrong. I did everything I could to reason with the guy. I offered him a cleaning deposit. I told him, I have 72 hours to get everything cleaned out. I feel like that should be honored, you know what I mean? Just because he didn't do cleaning deposits, he takes IDs. I told him that didn't really work. And even ever since then, I've never experienced that since. Public Storage in a general sense doesn't do cleaning deposits anymore, just because they never have anyone at their facilities. They're like almost fully kiosk now. Every one of their facilities is remotely managed, and then they have like one district manager or somebody that goes around, or they'll have you go to one remote facility to pay for units that are all over the city, and they don't mark it on the invoice. So it's very, what I mean? Public Storage is one of the biggest storage companies in the country. So it makes up a huge market share of the units that I buy. So, there's plenty of other storage facilities, Extra Space, Self-Storage, U-Haul, CubeSmart, all those sort of places. But Public Storage, I would say, is probably the biggest one out of them all. So losing access to them in the larger grand scheme of things, with this now being what I do full time, is obviously not ideal. So I don't really know what else to do at this point. I just figured I would kind of share with you guys what is going on, and what I've been dealing with them, and just kind of be more transparent with everything that I've had to deal with. Because it feels like talking to the people at Public Storage or even Storage Treasures about what's going on has only resulted in punishment on my end. So I genuinely do not know what else I can do. I just figured this would be something that would be good to kind of get out there and share my experience. In the long run, I would love to be able to get access back to bidding with Public Storage, because like I said, at the end of the day, I really don't feel like I've done anything wrong at all with them. But yeah, that initial issue with him there is the reason why they said that my account was banned from bidding with Public Storage. But that's what happened. That's technically why my account was banned. And then these most recent issues is what just brought it to light, and actually got my account marked on Storage Treasures. I'm gonna kind of jump into some of these other issues we've been having. There's a few other things that we weren't able to get on video, so you'll probably see me jump back to some clips of me talking about that as well. But in this next clip here, this is actually the day after we did the 8 units in one day. Because if you guys remember in that video, there were 3 units in the morning that we had went to that on the invoice all had the wrong address and actually all had to be paid for at one remote location. So we ended up wasting a ton of time driving to all these facilities, because on the invoices, it said that it'll tell you on the invoice what address you pay for the unit. And all of them said that you pay for them at the unit, or at the address where the unit was won. So at the facility where the storage unit that we had won was located was where we would have to pay. Come to find out, you had to go to that one remote facility to pay for all of them. I actually ended up paying for 4 out of the 8 units. It was actually every single one of the public storage units that we had won for that day all got paid for at one location, and not a single one of the units was located there. So it was a little frustrating. We wasted a lot of time, and I actually ended up having to go back to one of the units the next day just because of how much time that it took. We barely just scraped by being able to get access to all the units and get everything cleaned out for the other 7 the day before. So what you're going to be seeing now is the next day after we got the other 7 units. I already had the access, or I was supposed to have the access for this unit. You'll kind of see me explain it, but this is the next day following when I went back to get the last unit. And this is why I hate public storage. Constantly taking forever to be able to get access to a unit. This is one of the units I went to yesterday because on the invoice, the address it said to go to pay the property manager, meaning that someone should have been on site on the property. Got here, obviously nobody was here. Ended up having to go to a different property to get the unit paid for. She gave me I'll probably cover all the info, but she gave me the info with the gate code and the number for the combination lock and that sort of info, and a phone number to call the property manager. I get here to get it open. Gate code works just fine. Get pulled in. Turns out the unit is an indoor unit, not one of the outdoor pull-up units. So on this building specifically, you have to have another code to get into the building, which she did not give me. Now I've been here for over 20 minutes just standing around waiting, trying to be able to get access inside. So super frustrating. Constantly a battle with public storage. It seems like every time I go to one of their facilities for an auction, it ends up being something like this. So moving forwards, I'm definitely going to start taking that into consideration, because public storage, y'all are not on your stuff, and it is super frustrating. So where we're at right now. So I got this unit cleaned out. I'm not gonna lie, it was mostly trashed. This is one of the things that makes me think that they go through the units before they post them. They say they're not allowed to go in, and they say that they don't, and they just take pictures from the outside. But on the description, they put that there was a computer in this unit, and I didn't see a computer anywhere. I'm like, you know, maybe they just could see something we couldn't, because sometimes pictures, you can only see so much. But I already took all the stuff off the top of this one and threw it in the trash. But at the bottom of this thing, under all that stuff, is a computer. How would they know that there was a computer in this unit unless they went through it? Because this is the only computer. Sketchy for sure. And we've had multiple safes and things like that that appeared to have been open, and they all have been from public storage units. All of them. I am very close to saying I'm not going to buy units from public storage, or only doing certain locations, because these locations that I get that are kind of over in the trenches and things like that, they are some suspect stuff going on for sure. So I don't know for sure. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I'm just going off appearance and what appears to be going on. So we found another safe right here, but it looks like somebody already drilled into it, because it's got the key, but the key's not working. Let me try the other way. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's the only way that the key go in. The key's not working.
I like these full hand pieces.
It looks like it's been drilled.
These are full size hand pieces.
Now, obviously, that was pretty sketchy. We had one other safe before that appeared to be the same way. And then there was one time we had I don't know what you call those. They're not safes. It's like a gun case, I guess you'd call it. Like to put a handgun in, a gun case. And there was a lock on it that was broken. So it makes me think the gun was probably in there and somebody broke it to get it out. Now, you're not supposed to, I don't know the technical laws around it, but for guns, I know that if there are guns in a storage unit like that, at least if they're visible, they're supposed to be taken to the police first, at least to be like checked out to make sure they weren't used in any crimes or anything like that. But the way that lien laws work, once that storage auction is purchased, everything that's in that unit now belongs to whoever bought it under that lien, including the guns. So I think the only thing in Indiana that's not legal is motor vehicles. So like if there's a car or something like that in a unit that's visible, again, at least if it's visible, it's not allowed to be included with the sale because you can't transfer the title or something under that lien law. I don't know exactly, but as far as I know, that's like one of the only things that they're not legally allowed to sell. So if there is a car in a unit that you can see that's posted on an auction, they always saying like, you know, big caps, car is not a part of the auction, motor vehicle is not for sale. But needless to say, obviously that entire situation with all the safes and everything was pretty sketchy. Now with this next situation, I'll kind of give a little bit of a backstory and then kind of go into it. So for this one, we were super rushing. It was the last facility of the day. We had 2 units that was located at one facility, and we were super rushing. They closed at 6 o'clock, but most of the places, the way that it works is the office closed down at 6, but the gate and like just the access to the units doesn't close down until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So we just needed to make it to the office, in our minds at least, by 6 to be able to get the access to the unit, and then we would have plenty of time to get everything cleaned out. Now we showed up at the unit at like a little after 5:30, so we got there in plenty of time. We were like, you know, we're good. Finally relieved, you know, that sigh, because we were rushing the entire day because we didn't think we were going to be able to make it to all the facilities to be able to get access to it, because we still had another facility to go back to after that to get cleaned out that we had just rushed to just to get the access code and stuff to get into the unit. So mind you, we show up at this facility at like 5:30, just after 5:30. I think it was like 5:32 when we pulled in the parking lot. I walk up to the office, all the lights are off, pitch black. I'm like, what's going on? I look at the door, closes at 6. Look in the building, pitch black. I'm like, what's going on? Pitch black, knocking on the door, calling the number that's on the door, calling the number that's on the invoice. Nobody's answering. Nobody's coming to the door, nothing. Walk around the building, walk over to the gate. Obviously, I don't have an access code to the gate, but I walk over to the gate, over to that area. Nobody's over there. Now, mind you, I did see somebody's car right there in the parking lot. So I'm like, somebody's got to be here somewhere. Walk over to the other side, because there was like a door that came to the outside part. Looked over there, nobody's there, nothing, knocking on that door, nothing. So I go back over to the office. I'm standing there, you know, 10-15 minutes have went by at this time, so it's like, you know, almost 5:50. I'm standing there just calling, knocking. I'm like, somebody's got to be here. I'm like, you know, maybe they're just in the back, like out into the units doing, you know, like a walkthrough before, you know, they leave the office at 6 or whatever, making sure everything's together. Because typically, like I said, the office will close at like 6, but you can still access the gate and all of the units until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. 5:57 comes around. This lady comes walking in, lights turn on in the office. We're closed. I'm like, lady, no, like I've been here for almost 30 minutes. I'm like, please. I'm like, all I need is access. I got 2 auctions here. I'm like, all I need is access to them. And then I'll get out of here. I'm like, please. I'm like, I've been standing around here waiting for 30 minutes. I rented this truck today. I really don't want to have to rent it again tomorrow. I'm like, please, just let me get access to it. I'm like, that's all I need. Just let me get the access codes to them. You can get out of here. I'll get them cleaned out. Well, that's not how it works here. At 6 o'clock when we close and I leave, nobody can be in the facility. Nobody is allowed inside the gate. Nobody can come to the units. Now, I'm a little suspicious because I'm like, I've never heard that before. You know, I've never seen that. Typically, everywhere I go, you know, the office might close at 6, but you can still access the gate or the units until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But she's saying, no, that's not how it works, da-da-da-da-da. Might be true, might be not. I don't know for sure, but I'm just like, whatever. Obviously, I have to take her at her word. She's the facility manager, but I'm just begging her, please, you know, is there any way, like, we'll be super fast. You know, there's 2 of us. I'm like, we won't even load it into the truck. I'll literally just set it all right here outside of the door, and then we'll load it from that point. Just let us throw everything outside the door, then we'll get it. I'm like, please, I really don't want to have to rent this truck again tomorrow. She's like, nope. And then I'm like, please, like, I just have 2 units. There's not that much in either one of them. You know, one's just got cleaning supplies. The other one just has a couple things and a bunch of shoes. She's like, well, which one is it? And I was like, I don't know for sure. I'm like, I can look up the unit number and let you know. She's like, you got that unit with all them J's in it? Talking about all the Jordans that were in the unit. And I was like, yeah, like I'm like, yeah, that's literally it. It's the one with all the shoes, and then the one with the 2 racks, and there's just a bunch of cleaning supplies. I'm like, it will literally take us probably 20 minutes to get everything cleaned out. I'm like, please. I'm like, you know, I've been here for 30 minutes. I'm like, if somebody would have been in the office and I would have been able to get it, I probably would have had it cleaned out before 6 o'clock anyways. I'm like, please, I really don't want to have to rent a truck again tomorrow. She's like, I'll tell you what, you give me a pair of them shoes, I'll let you get your stuff out. Now, mind you, I'm exhausted at this point, and I'm just like doing mental calculations in my head. I'm like, okay, if I give her a pair of these shoes, I could probably sell them for around $100. So I'd be wasting, you know, $100 in potential profit. But if I don't do it, she's not going to let me get the stuff out, and I'm going to have to pay for the truck again to come back the next day to get the stuff, which is going to cost me $200 plus directly out of my pocket right then. So I'm like, okay, I got to sacrifice this potential profit to not have to pay this money out of my pocket right now. So I was just like, you know what, whatever. I'll take the extortion. You can have the pair of shoes. Just please let me get my stuff out. And so she's like, okay. So we get back. She opened the cleaning unit first. So she opened the cleaning unit first. We kind of took a look. She's like, oh yeah, there's not that much in here. Shouldn't take you that long. She's looking over. She's like, just kind of looking around, and then takes me over to the other unit, opens it up. She's like, yeah, this is the one I was talking about, the one with all these J's everywhere. Because there was 2 like big cardboard boxes on the ground, and then there was one on top of like there was a little like dresser, and all 3 of those boxes were completely just stuffed full of Jordans. And so she starts rifling through, and finally she picks out a pair. I'm gonna take these. I'm like, you know, okay, whatever, thanks, just let me get my stuff. So we go back to the first unit, to the cleaning unit, and now she's got the pair of shoes in her hand, and she's like, can I have that steamer? Because there was like a steamer in there. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, like, you know, I'm gonna sell that. Or like my wife was saying, she wants a steamer. She's like, oh, okay. She's like, well, what if I bought it from you? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, I gotta look it up, kind of figure out, you know, what it is, how much it goes for, you know, all that kind of stuff. I really just was trying to get out of there. I was done dealing with her at that point. And then her husband comes around, and the whole situation felt a little sketchy. The guy was pretty sketchy, I'm not gonna lie. But she's like, he'll help you get some of this stuff out so we can get out of here. I'm like, okay, cool, you know, I appreciate it. There was 2 big racks, 1 small rack, and then, like I said, all the racks had cleaning supplies, and then like in the back corner of the unit, there was a bunch of mops and brooms. I'll put in the video showing all the cleaning supplies right here. So you can see there really wasn't too much in the unit. I used the racks in my storage unit now to store stuff on, and then I sold all the cleaning supplies. But while we're in that unit, they're asking, can I have the rack? I'm like, no, I need the racks. And then they're like, well, what about the small rack? And I'm like, sure, you know what, whatever. Like I said, at this point I'm exhausted. I'm just trying to get the heck out of here. So I'm like, sure, you know what, whatever, you can have it. What about this cleaning stuff down here? Can I have this? I'm like, sure, whatever, just take it. I'm like, just let me get my stuff and get out of here. And so we're getting the stuff out of that unit. He's kind of helping us take stuff down, and he's down there with us, but he's not really coming back to help us at that point. He's just kind of standing there watching what we're doing. And so in my mind, just kind of how my mind works, I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he just kind of standing here? Like, he was, offering to help, but now that we're over here doing it, it almost seems like he's on watch. So I kind of snuck back to the other unit, and then came around the corner to where I could see down at the cleaning supply unit, and I see her go around the corner, and it definitely looked like she had some stuff in her arms. So I think she was taking even more stuff out of the unit. But like I said, at this point, I'm so exhausted, and I'm just like, let me get this stuff and get the heck out of here. So we ended up getting the rest of the stuff out. Just a super sketchy experience. She had me pay her inside one of the storage units. The entire experience was super sketchy. I'm not going to give too many details. I'm not going to give her name or where it was at. I ain't trying to get nobody fired, because to me, it's not really that deep. Like I said, I was trying to get it done. But again, another public storage facility, another sketchy situation, extortion, all, you get what I'm saying? Now, mind you, and the biggest reason why I just kept saying whatever, like, you can have the stuff, is because, you know, if she was telling the truth and they did close at 6, she was doing us a favor by staying and letting us get the stuff out. I've never heard of that before, but this facility was kind of in the trenches, so maybe just due to the location, they do close. I don't know for sure, but if they do, then she was doing us a solid by staying open, so that's why I just kind of kept being like, yeah, whatever, because I was, like I said, I'm just trying to get my stuff and get out there. So eventually we get all the stuff out, she takes off. So long story, but yeah. And so from this facility, this is the reason why my account got suspended the second time, because I don't know if it was her or if it just automatically happened, but she had put in, or it had got put in that we didn't pick up the unit. And I'm calling storage treasures like, the unit's paid for, the unit's already completely cleaned out. Like, what are you gonna say I didn't show up to clean it out? You think I'm gonna pay for a unit and then not show up to get it? I'm like, the unit's already completely cleaned out. I had got a picture of the unit that had the shoes in it completely cleaned out, but I forgot to get a picture of the unit with all the cleaning supplies. So I sent them that picture and they're like, oh, okay, cool, we see it, but there's still another unit. We don't have the picture for that one. So we just have to wait and confirm with them that it was cleaned out. Mind you, that night, could not get on the phone with nobody. Same situation for like 5 days straight. So it was like a Friday morning when they suspended my account for it. All day Friday, I tried calling the facility. All day Saturday, nobody's answering. It's far too. It's almost like 45 minutes from my house. So I wasn't gonna drive there just for that. I'm like, somebody should be able to answer the phone. Sunday rolls around, Monday, trying calling. Nobody's answering. I call storage treasures again, like, look, it's been, days, my account's still suspended. Nobody's answering. I'm like, can you guys try to reach out to them and see if you're able to get a hold of them? The guy was super rude. You need to just be patient, I'm like, bro, this is what I do for a living full time. I didn't do anything wrong. My account is suspended right now. I missed out on like 3 units I really wanted to get because my account was still suspended on Monday, and that's when the units ended, was that Monday. So I obviously was pretty frustrated. Still am pretty frustrated, if I'm being honest, because in all these situations, I really don't feel like I was in the wrong, and I feel like I'm getting the butt end of the stick for it. It is what it is. There have been a few other like small things, like similar things, like wrong addresses on the invoice, phone numbers that were disconnected that were put on the invoice. It just feels like overall the customer or the auction buyer aspect of public storage is just not there for sure. And for them being one of the biggest companies in the country, from my perspective, I would think you should probably have one of the best. But it seems like they are really trying to cut costs because they are turning all of the units into kiosk facilities, meaning, like I said, that there's just a kiosk there to deal with everything. And then they just have like one district manager that kind of rotates around and goes through all the different facilities. And then that one facility that we went to, where typically you have to go for now to pay for all of the auctions. But again, that should be on the invoice. It should tell you where you need to go to pay for your auction. End of story. So I'm gonna continue to kind of try to push for it, see if I can get in contact with somebody from Public Storage that's able to help me out, see if they can get me unbanned, because like I said, they're one of the biggest companies in the country, so obviously they're gonna have units that I want at some point. I might be a little bit pickier about which facilities I go to, but I've had some good experience at Public Storage also. It hasn't been all bad. There's been some really cool property managers at certain locations, especially the ones out here near where I live. They've been real cool, so no problems with them. It hasn't all been bad. There just have been more bad experiences with them versus any of the other companies I've had to deal with. But like I said, I really hope I can get in contact with somebody from Public Storage a little bit higher up that's able to help me out and get me unbanned, because I would love to be able to buy a unit from them if I so decide that I want it. You know what I mean? I just don't really I feel like I was pretty wrongfully banned. You guys let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you think I deserve to be banned based off these situations that happened, or if you think that they're in the wrong. I had a different video planned for this week, but with this coming up, I just felt like this was something I need to address and just kind of fill you guys in on what was going on. So, peace.